We are hardwired for human connection. As human beings, we function best when we connect with other beings. It's why this event is so important. It's why we have recovery clubs like Solutions and various open spaces so we can have human connection with one another. All right, so this is what Lindsay was talking about in regards to the last few slides are going to be different strategies you can use. For those that logged on to Menti, you can take a screenshot, and they should be on Menti for a while.
And we should just cross out to use with clients and have strategies. Because these
Right.
are strategies that anybody can use. Would you like to talk about something?
Sure. So bilateral stimulation or binaural beats, anything that you or you can do with your client to bilaterally, meaning from one side of the body to the other.
How many of you have noticed me rocking a lot? This is bilateral stimulation. My body's just naturally doing it, or walking around, jogging, walking, tapping back and forth. I actually love twiddling my thumbs. That's another kind of really mild form. Tapping your feet back and forth. Anything that crosses that midline, that center line, is considered bilateral.
I do a lot of the bilateral stimulation with kids in schools who struggle with sitting, and they're very distracted and they can't focus, and a lot of things going on. And it's amazing. It's one of those things like I wouldn't have believed it until I saw it myself. But I have them use, I call them buzzers, but it buzzes one wrist and then the other. They put them on their wrists, and they can slow down, and they can focus, and they can play a game, or they can read a book, or do whatever it is. And it's amazing to witness. And then we also talk about the butterfly hug, the tapping opposite. Exactly. Just crossing your arms and tapping one side and then the other. And you can do that for, 20, 30 pads, and then take a deep cleansing breath. And that is one of the ways that you can start regulating your nervous system.
So binaural beats, I love giving people this resource. It's pretty amazing, and you can find binaural beats on YouTube.
And Spotify.
Yep. So, obviously our brain, the way we hear is through different frequencies and different hertz. And so there are different frequencies of music or tones that tap into specific parts of our nervous system, either the gas or the brake. And so when we're worked up and we can put on some music that goes, that's the binaural, you actually, it sounds just like music. Your ears might not even pick up that it's going from one ear to the other, but that's naturally calming down your nervous system to help you be regulated. And I recommend, even if you're not anxious or worried or overthinking or struggling with depression or anything stressful, just listening to them to fall asleep, or when you're studying, really helps keep your nervous system regulated.
The butterfly hug is on there too, but the next one then is the belly breathing. Oftentimes we breathe with our shoulders, right? And we don't take the full breath to get our lungs filled. One of the easiest ways to teach it and make sure that you're doing it correctly is to put a stuffed animal on your stomach when you're laying down, and make sure this stuffed animal is going up and down. The kids I work with love it. They think it's so much fun. And just I've done it myself, like just laying on a flat surface or laying on the bed and put something on your stomach to make sure it goes up and down, to make sure that you're getting those good cleansing breaths. Then it says grounding techniques. The easiest is the 5 senses and identifying go ahead. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5 things you can see, 4 things that you can hear, 3 things that maybe you can touch, and then,
Smell and taste.
thank you. I'm like, the other ones.
The other ones.
And box breathing. Some of you probably saw the ads, but for calm stress, but basically it's the same thing. So you can box breathe. So you breathe up and then out, in and then out, in and then out, and you can keep going, and you can add counting to the boxes. So maybe you inhale for the count of 5, hold for 5, exhale for 5, and so forth. So whatever they're capable of doing.
Cold water. Running your hands under cold water, especially if you are feeling worked up or stressed or angry or anxious. Just wash your hands in colder water. That will activate and stimulate that vagus nerve, which is the brake pedal. Putting a cold washcloth on the back of your neck here is a very quick way to activate that nerve, to bring down. Cold water showers are incredible for your mental health, actually. It helps just keep your nervous system in that cruise control.
And it doesn't have to be all cold. Like, you can have a warm shower and then end with a cold shower.
One thing that isn't on here but could go, so brushing our teeth. Brushing our teeth engages like all of our senses almost, and so you can, well, I don't know if you want to carry a toothbrush and toothpaste with you everywhere, but you can brush your teeth and just, feel the sensation. Also, cinnamon discs or peppermints to suck on. Anything that engages all of those senses will help take your brain out of thinking, cognitive mode, and get it back into regulation mode.
And then progressive muscle relaxation. I'm going to skip some of these due to time. Aromatherapy for many people works. Finger touches. My kiddos use this all the time. And then fatiguing your muscles. So you tighten your muscles and then relax. And you can kind of do a body scan of that, and that will help too. Different books that are listed.
If you take
Glow Kids.
Yeah, Glow Kids is that I will get on a pedestal and start talking about Glow Kids.
Body Keeps the Score does a beautiful job talking about how our bodies hold on to our emotions and trauma and different experiences that we have. What Happened to You does a beautiful job at looking and focusing more on what happened to you instead of what's wrong with you. This Is Your Brain on Food has some good information on the connections on the types of food and vitamins that we ingest and how those may or may not affect our mental and physical well-being.
And that kind of also goes back to like this big push for healing-informed care, not just trauma-informed care, really looking at the whole body and the brain-body connection. Sandy talked about our nervous system and the vagus nerve running into our gut. This is why gut health is so important, and paying attention to what our digestive system is doing. Oftentimes we are vitamin or nutrient deficient, and that is a big cause of some of our mental health concerns.
There's various apps. This is just a small snippet, but in the Google Play Store or the Apple Store, you can just simply put in recovery or mental health, emotional health, physical health. So the various things will pop up for you. And then there's various podcasts also.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna add Healthy Minds app. It's free and it's on Wisconsin Days.
Awesome.
I
Healthy
think
Minds.
from Madison or something, and
Okay.
it's free.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
That's a good
Thank
one.
you. That's definitely what we should have up there.
Got it.
All right, and then there's different podcasts. There's tons of podcasts out there really looking at recovery, mental wellness, different YouTube resources that I very much appreciate. Pleasure Unwoven by Kevin McCauley, He also has memo to self. So these are just different ones that you can check out if you want. And for all of us, no matter if we are where we are with our lives, we need to remember we're responsible for our effort and not the outcome. And then the last slide says Q&A. Maybe. Oh, we don't want, well, you can tell us, but no, you can't tell us, actually. There's supposed to be Q&A on that last one. So now we have a few minutes for questions.
Yeah, I guess so. My question is just kind of so I work with kids a lot who are in chronically toxic environments. And one of the things we run into a lot is just it's really hard to find actual healing while they're still in that environment. So I guess my question is just how would you, I guess, yeah, if you have any tips or pointers for anything along those lines, just how to help people heal while they're still in that toxic environment.
Excellent question. So I would really keep in mind the bottom-up approach instead of the top-down approach. So first and foremost, whenever you're with them or in front of them, creating an environment of safety, right? They might not be safe outside of their time with you, but if you can create a sense of safety with them, then you're teaching their brain that not every environment, not every person is unsafe, and really focus on building that relationship, having a trusting relationship. If you're working with kids, I would stick with play and art. Play is self-directed exposure therapy. And so they're reworking their environment and what they're experiencing. It usually doesn't make sense to us, but it makes sense to them. And anything through art and identifying colors as emotions or experiences will also create a safe place for them. So really focus on that nervous system regulation. When you're with me, this is a safe place for you, right? And what you're doing then is you're instilling or you're seed planting that the nervous system can feel safe. It doesn't have to always be in survival mode. And then you build and build and build on that. Maybe help them identify other safe people or other safe situations. And when we talk about safety, please know it's not just physical, it's also emotional safety. Did that help? Okay.
I just had a question about when you were talking about kids with the wrist something. What were those called?
So those are called, if you want to look into them, they're called the touch point solution. Touch points. Yes, we use them. We use them often. I mean, adults use them all the time as well. Just when you're in stressful environments, it keeps that nervous system grounded.
With your example of your oldest child,
This is my father, everyone.
I wasn't going to tell
It's okay.
you. Anyways, how did you handle this advice that you just gave to this gentleman behind us in terms of creating that safe space when he came back from school?
What's that? Yeah. Took him to your house. No, I tried to be a safe environment by keeping myself regulated because there was nothing I wanted more than to storm into the school and to call the parents and to have a talk with the kids myself. But I knew that wouldn't be helpful. So I tried to focus on staying regulated and really just making some physical connection, whether he liked it or not, sitting closer to him on the couch, not talking, not asking about, well, what could I do? What do you need to do? I learned very quickly that it was his body that was dysregulated and not his thoughts. Because cognitively, he was working through everything that he knew how to work through. And whatever I was saying, he wasn't hearing anyways. So just, again, trying to create a sense of safety by sticking close, hanging out, encouraging him to go for walks, things like that, instead of trying to fix, because I wasn't going to fix for him. Not, what if, that's okay, what if touch would set somebody off, right? Then you move. Or, you know, if it's somebody, now that example is my own child, and so I know kind of his limits, but if you're working with somebody or maybe they're just a friend and they don't really like touch, respecting that, because sometimes it's our need to give a hug than it is their need to receive a hug, because physical touch might not be safe or have been safe, and that might dysregulate even more.
And I'll just add, when I'm working with non-adults and sometimes even with adults, I'll ask them if we're going into a space, where do you want me to sit? And then allow them to sit wherever they choose. Or when I'm working, if I'm doing something like playing with a kid or something, I just sit down and allow them to do, and figure it out and respect their space. Because if you think about our bubble, right? We all have a bubble. Yep. So people who have experienced trauma, you need to go out 3 wingspans. So that's the bubble you need to give them. And so it's real important to allow them to come to you versus sitting close together or side by side or that type of thing.
And knowing what your bubble is also important, right? Like how many times you've all hopefully have experienced where maybe you're walking in a store, you're walking down the street and like something just, you can like feel somebody walking behind you. Yeah, maybe notice how far back they are, and that will give you an idea of how big your bubble is. And when you're with safe people, that bubble is not going to feel as big. Yep.
Overdose fatality review. Yep, overdose fatality review, and it's anyone who's, we've also incorporated some suicide deaths with drug related, but overdose fatality review.
I just wanted to say that because your dad is here, and I'm also a grandparent, there is, and because I've been a parent and a grandparent, the luxury of being a grandparent is having gone through this already. So with my daughter, I was a fixer. And so if there was a problem, I was like, oh, you have a problem? Well, I got 5 solutions, and we can start working on one right away. Let's just you pick one, and we'll sit right down right now. And that's the way I handled it. And they don't listen to you anyway. And she'll go to a friend's house and say, hey, you know what Justin's mom said? This. I go, okay, I just said that. But with grandchildren, it just, you're wiser and older. It's one of the gifts one of the only gifts you get when you're old is to get a little wiser. And so when my grandchildren are grown now come to me, I just almost always only give them space. Let them know that I love them all the time, and they say, this is happening, and I just say something like, that sounds tough, and give them a long time. And sometimes, in the best circumstances, they'll say, oh, you know what I could do? This. I'm like, great idea. Yes. Perfect. So that's a little piece of age advice that your dad probably already knows, or you would have a daughter that could give this kind of advice.
Thank you. Yes, if you are parents or grandparents, I read a study one time about cocooning and allowing our children or children in our lives to have a space where they can cocoon. And whether the schools know it or not, I think the schools oftentimes create a cocoon in their classrooms. And it's this idea of we have to stop looking at a need to be alone as only isolating and negative, right? Yes, absolutely, sometimes isolating is a red flag for something deeper going on. And it's also a very healthy part of development that our fast-paced society and our quick need have been taking away from us. And so in your homes or in your classrooms, or even, if you're, a county worker, if you have a space in your office that you can just make kind of cozy, like a cocoon. You had a client one time who he brought like all of his stuff and created a cocoon for himself in our group room, and that's where he went every time he came in. And the more that he felt that safety and like, okay, I'm okay, I just need to regroup, then opened up more and more and more, and they do eventually come out of their cocoon. So I love that advice too, that you just give them your space, and it's very hard. And I'm a natural fixer, so I hear you.
We have probably time for one more quick question if anyone has one. Can your nervous system heal from trauma, and how?
Yes. Okay. We should have probably also talked about like generational and intergenerational trauma. So trauma actually changes our DNA, and what studies are now showing is that, forgive me, I don't have the numbers for males, but I know for females, we are carrying the trauma that our great-grandmothers experienced. And so, we also know that people are born with a threshold of resilience. That doesn't mean they can't increase their resilience, but we're born kind of with a threshold. And that is part of that intergenerational trauma that we carry without even knowing it, right? Which is why I might be able to handle a situation differently, or I might bounce back faster than somebody else, right? So the way that we heal our nervous system and kind of rewrite that DNA is through all of these things that we're talking about. It's being aware of substance use. It's being aware of how we're coping. It's being aware of our gut health. So it's that healing informed care. And it's about using tools and resources that we have to kind of rewrite that DNA.
Thank you all so much for being here.